Welcome to Math 1102 online, and we're going to be looking at one of the most important topics in mathematics that is used in Math for Health Science, and that is the notion of fractions. Oftentimes we focus with things like rates, how many milliliters per hour for a given IV. So it's important for us to be clear on these concepts that we've learned in earlier classes. So I want to give you a quick lesson on how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions, converting to mixed numbers, reducing fractions, and maybe taking a look at a few word problems. So let's start with a fairly simple question. If I'm looking at 3/10 plus 1/10, the denominator is tenths. So you think of that as a denomination. If I had 3 of some denomination and 1 of some denomination, the total would be 4 of those denominations. So 3/10 plus 1/10 is 4/10, and we're comfortable with that. But we have to recognize that can be factored. So I want to show you a slightly different way to do that. We're going to factor the 4 to get 2 times 2. We're going to factor the 10 to get 2 times 5. And then we'll notice 2 divided by 2 is really a way of writing 1. So I get 1 times 2 over 5, which gives us 2/5 there. So that one was relatively easy. The challenge comes with fractions when the denominators are different. So if I have 3/14 plus 5/6, you'll notice I've written this question vertically, and I'm going to build common denominators for this problem. And the way we do that is we're going to factor the denominators. 14 is 2 times 7. 6 is 2 times 3. I do not need to factor the numerators, the tops. And then the question is, how do I build a common denominator? And maybe you can look at those two numbers and see it, but I think it's helpful to have a strategy that enables us to do that. So we look at the denominators. You'll notice I have a 2 in the first denominator. I have a 2 in the second denominator. The most 2's I see in any one place is just one of them. I have a 3 here, and that's the only 3 that I see. The most 3's I see in any one place is just one of them. And then the most 7's I see in any one place is just one of them. So I claim that the common denominator is 2 times 3 times 7, which of course you recognize is 42. Now these fractions are not equivalent because I've changed them somehow. Now at the beginning there was a 3 upstairs and a 5 upstairs. 2 is there before, 7 is there before. What's new here is 3. If I multiply the bottom by 3, I need to multiply the top by 3 because 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now hopefully we can recognize this as an equivalent fraction. In the second case, 2 was there before, 3 was there before, 7 is what's new. So if I multiply by 7 on the bottom, multiply by 7 on the top, we recognize 7 divided by 7 is 1, so again, the fractions are equivalent. So 3 times 3 is 9 here, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 7 is 42 here. Here, 5 times 7 is 35. 6 times 7 is 42. So now what I have is I have 9 40-seconds plus 35 40-seconds. So that gives us 44 40-seconds, which is kind of interesting because 44 40-seconds is an improper or a top-heavy fraction. We have a larger numerator than a denominator, which we'll deal with that shortly. But the first thing I want to do is I want to factor. Now 44 is 4 times 11, or even better, 2 times 2 times 11 will give me 44. 42 we see above here is 2 times 3 times 7. Now 2 divided by 2 is the same as 1. So we can think of that as 1, and then this gives us 2 times 11 is 22. 3 times 7 is 21. In an algebra class, 22 over 21 is a perfectly fine answer. But in the health fields, we would prefer to have an improper fraction converted to a mixed number. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite that the following way. We'll take 21 into 22. How many times? 21 goes into 22 one time. 1 times 21 is 21. Let's subtract those. 22 minus 21 is 1. That is my remainder. And the way we write the final answer is we put the remainder, 1, over the divisor, the number on the outside, 1 over 21. So my answer to this question is indeed 1 and 1 over 21. So let's continue our discussion on adding and subtracting fractions, and let's go with a set of 3 of them this time. So let's imagine that we have 5/12 plus 1/9 plus 3/4. So in order to do this problem, we're going to factor the denominators, and we're going to see what happens here. 12 is 4 times 3, which can be broken down into 2 times 2 times 3. 9 is 3 times 3. 4 is 2 times 2. And I'm going to bring over all of the numerators, all the tops of the fractions. And then my goal is to build a common denominator. Now I have to look at the factors of the denominator and try to find out what is in common for them. And you'll notice the only numbers that I'm seeing in the denominators are 2's and 3's. And to build the common denominator, I ask myself, what are the most 2's I see in any one place? Well, I see 2 2's here, I see 2 2's there. The most 2's in any one place is 2 of them, so my common denominator must have 2 times 2. And then we look at 3's. Well, I have 1 3 here, and I have 2 3's there. So the most 3's I see in any one place, 2 of them. So the common denominator will be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, which I'm sure you can see is going to be 36. Now we have to see what's new. 2 was there before. 3 was there before. The thing that's new here is 3. And if 3 is new on the bottom, you've got to put it on top. 5 was there before, don't forget that. Here, 3 was there before, so 2 is new. So we're going to make that into a 1, so I've got to put 2 upstairs. What was there before? 1 was there before. Here, 2 was old, so what's new here is 3. So 3 has to be upstairs, so that turns into a 1, and 3 was there before. So we now have equivalent fractions. What are they? 5 times 3 is 15. 9 times 4 is 36. 2 times 2 is 4. 9 times 4 is 36. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27 over 9 times 4 is 36. So to add all these together, we'll notice the denominator is the same. We have the same denomination of 36. So if we add all of these together, what do we get? 15 plus 4 is 19. 19 and 27 is, I believe, 46. Now 46 over 36 is another top-heavy fraction. So we're going to try to reduce that and then rewrite it as a mixed number. So we have 46 over 36, which is going to give us what? 46 can be broken down into 2 times 23. 36 can be broken down, as we see above, 2, 2, 3, 3. And the only thing that cancels here, 2 cancels 2, and we get upstairs 1 times 23, which is 23. Downstairs, 1 times 2 times 3 times 3, which is 18. Which again, in algebra class, this is probably acceptable. But what we want to do here is we want to rewrite that as a mixed number. How many milliliters would that be? How many kilograms would that be? How many ounces would that be? We need some notion of the amount that represents. So we're going to take 18 into 23. It goes one time. 1 times 18 is 18. Continuing, 23 minus 18 is 5, so the remainder is 5, so we write 1 and 5/18. So this becomes the mixed number 1 and 5/18.